Hey, what's up guys? John here. I love personal finance, real estate, business, and investing more than anybody. And over the years, I've been so optimistic. The sky's never even been the limit. Anything is possible, I've always believed. But the last couple years, I've become more pessimistic about certain situations, especially around the global economy. Mainly when we take a look at the core fundamentals. I'm a fundamentals guy. I like to study and realize the true fundamentals of any investment. And when we're in an environment where was 0% interest rates, eviction moratoriums, where they're canceling student loan debt, where they're doing all of these things, essentially restructuring capitalism for their benefit, it's made me realize, well, how far could they go? What is possible? What is not possible? And how can I invest to make money? How can I invest carefully without really taking on too much outside risk? Because this economy now is, in my opinion, a game of musical chairs, and they control the music. They can turn it off and turn it on at any moment. So the fundamentals I'm questioning on a lot of assets right now. However, Biden made this terrifying, absolutely terrifying prediction or warning of something that could come very soon. And fascinatingly enough, a lot of world leaders, people that are really making the big decisions in the world, are saying the same exact thing. And they've been saying that this is coming for the last 2 years. So if they are saying this and the president is saying this, what does this mean for all of us? It means that we'd be fools not to take it into consideration. Because it's not as if it's from some tinfoil hat guy saying it out of nowhere. These are the world leaders saying that, hey, this is a real possibility. This could happen, and to get ready for it. Now in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what they are saying so we can all have a conversation down below about it. Hit that like button. If you hit the like button, YouTube's going to share this content to educate more people about things that they're not going to learn anywhere else. So please hit that like button. Let's begin. All of these stories have been dropped on us over the last 24 hours. 24 hours, Barron's, Yahoo, CBS, BBC, Miami Herald, CNN, Politico. It's literally everywhere. Like every single major outlet, every single major media outlet in America is mentioning this. However, if you remember, in July of 2020, this guy right here came out and said,
to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
The most troubling takeaway from President Joe Biden's warning that there is evolving intelligence that Russia is exploring options for cyber attacks is that U.S. spy agencies have been spot on so far predicting Putin's moves. It was always possible that a Russian leader could seek to impose direct reprisals on the U.S. government and Americans for their support of Ukraine and crippling sanctions on Russia after his brutal invasion. Putin could turn his intelligence agencies or unrelated criminal gangs against U.S. government departments, hospitals, and critical infrastructure. Hospitals, critical infrastructure,
the power supply,
and
transportation, hospital services.
Sounds very, very familiar. Sounds very familiar. Opening a cyber front where at least hinting at one would be consistent with Putin's strategy of escalation, which has seen him rattle nuclear sabers, turn fearsome fire on Ukrainian civilians, and use new generation hypersonic missiles. This is CNN saying all this. But the key question is whether the Russian leader would risk a full-born cyber conflict with Washington, which, as CNN reported last week, has fearsome capabilities of its own that may outmatch Russia's arsenal and could quickly deliver devastating hits against Russia's critical infrastructure. Biden first warned on Monday in a written statement that it was time for the private sector, which owns much of the nation's critical infrastructure and hasn't always heeded government warnings, to immediately harden its online defenses. Then he took an even more chilling message in person to a business roundtable meeting in Washington. The magnitude of Russia's cyber capacity is fairly consequential, and it's coming. The president warned. He hasn't used it yet, but it's part of his playbook, Biden said of Putin. And Nierberger, White House Deputy National Security Advisor for Cyber and Emerging Technology said Monday that after detecting predatory activity by Russia, the administration had held classified briefings with companies and sectors that could be vulnerable to cyber attacks. But she also said that there is currently no evidence of any specific threat. The White House has consistently warned of potential cyber front from Russia's war on Ukraine ever since the invasion more than 3 weeks ago, over and above its regular guidance to state the local governments and big businesses and industry. Putin's motives to attack the U.S. As always, the government pronounced based on intelligence, and especially in an area of sensitive and potential cyber warfare, much remains unknown about the potential threat, the timing of Biden's announcement, and the messages he sought to send Russia with the statement on Monday. But Putin does not have burning reasons for wanting to target the United States. Well, some would argue that. If you look at all the sanctions, everything that they banned Russian oil, they collapsed their economy, the ruble's worth a fraction of a penny or less than a penny. They've done a lot of things to Russia. So he says, but Putin does not have burning reasons to wanting to target the U.S. and inflict pain on Americans. I'm not sure. Maybe. Doesn't seem accurate, but anyway. Unprecedented international sanctions are having a devastating effect on the Russian economy. The longer they remain in force, the more they hurt ordinary Russians. The Russian banking sector is cut off from the world, and the country has become an international pariah. Putin's forces, meanwhile, didn't pull off an expected blitzkrieg to Kiev. A military stalemate may force Putin to escalate the crisis to increase his own geopolitical leverage with outside powers and his actions over many years. The Russian leader has given every impression that he believes he's already waging low-intensity warfare against the West. Indeed, Russian intelligence agencies used hacking and influence campaigns in 2016 and 2020. For this, according to the U.S. intelligence, Putin may also be seeking revenge for the gusher of anti-tank and anti-aircraft weapons being poured into Ukraine by the West, which are being used to kill Russians in an extraordinary proxy war with Moscow and Europe. So the leap, direct non-military actions against the United States may not be as wide to Putin as it might appear to others. And apparently they have a long record of cyber warfare. It's very, we all remember, we remember the Keystone Pipeline, all of the hacks, they blamed all of those on Russia. That may be true, it may not be true. Everyone has their own opinion on that. Cyber attacks, though they would be an escalation of the current circumstances, would not be a new Russian tactic. Nearly a year ago, Washington blamed the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service for the 2020 SolarWinds attack on federal servers in a broad sweep of the public sector and imposed sanctions. A criminal group from Russia known as DarkSide was believed to be responsible for the ransomware attack on the Trans-American Colonial Pipeline last year. At a summit in Geneva last summer, Biden told Putin that certain areas of critical infrastructure should be off limits for cyber attacks and outlined 16 specific entities, including energy and water. And in its published annual threat assessment report, the U.S. intelligence community warned that Russia was developing capabilities to target underwater cables and industrial control systems in the U.S. and elsewhere, becoming compromising such infrastructure improves and demonstrates its ability to damage infrastructure during a crisis. See, I look at what these world leaders have to lose and what they have to gain. When they issue these warnings over and over and over again, these warnings, if nothing does happen, it will impact their credibility. People will reflect back to these warnings and say, oh, that had no merit, that was false. But over and over and over and over again, over the last 2 years, they've been issuing these warnings. But the big question I have for you is, do you think that there's merit in these warnings? Is this something that you're genuinely kind of concerned about? Because if you look at how the world in America would change if utilities were, impacted, or if the banking system, or hospital services, everything. This would basically bring the entire world to a halt. This would be dramatic. It would be worse than anything that we've ever seen in this country, at least in our lifetimes. But what do you think about all this? Drop your comments below. Let's have a conversation about this. Hit that like button, subscribe here, consider subbing. on my second channel, also on TikTok for short form content. All right, guys, catch you later.